Welcome to the 1990's Gladiator Round Tournament. We are down to the final four. This is exciting. Do I even need to introduce these guys at this point? I mean, they're the cream of the crop, so of course they're very well known, but we have to do it. Kevin Levrone versus Paul Dillett. I expect a pretty good response for this one here. This is an interesting matchup, and I think I know my audience, and I'm pretty sure everybody's gonna tune in to see this one. Big Paul is taking... Paul is taking a point here, but I think we better rush over to the next pose. It looks like he's getting a little tired. And he's okay. It appears everything is back to normal. He just doesn't like to hold the poses too long. Paul Dillett is 2-0 in this matchup against Kevin Levrone. I am surprised. Those of you who are voting towards Kevin Levrone in this matchup might want to get on the phone and change your bets. This is unreal, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, I'm not a professional judge, so it honestly could go either way. And Paul Dillett is winning this matchup so far. And finally, Kevin battles back with a point. This front lat spread is such a natural pose for Kevin. I believe this is the 94 Olympia version of Levrone. What a fantastic lat spread this year. Unreal. Paul Dillett, not the best pose at all. One of his lats. Way different than the other one. He just looks uncomfortable to even snap it. Ooh, he's kinking up. He's kinking up. Let's move on to the next pose. And again, I guess he is okay for now, but we'll have to keep an eye on him. That's the second spell in a row. The side tricep could go the way of Paul Dillett, depending on who's judging this. Now, you'll oftentimes hear me complain. The way that Sean Roden hits it, he faces forward. I think Paul Dillett is the opposite. He's going too sideways. I'm a little bit picky on this, but do you see the way Levrone is snapping this? This is what I'm looking for. Just tilted just so. This is exactly what Marx Max Muscle is looking for in a side tricep. Now Dorian throws his calf in there as well, and Paul Dillett is displaying his other calf. That's good too. Adds a little bit of a base, a foundation. Either way, but the stance here of Kevin Levrone, and plus, the outer head of his tricep is massive, just as big as Paul's. Of course, look at the back of Paul's tricep, massive. But Kevin Levrone takes a point in my opinion. And honestly, here's another one that could go either way. Paul is massive, and he is getting a vote, in my opinion, on the leg development. He has a few goodies there, like big, massive legs to match the upper body, as well as a little set of glutes. A lot of big mass monsters, they cannot boast such features. But at the end of the day, he's just too good aesthetically, I think. I mean, Big Paul has those veins, vascularity. But that's not like a conditioning style vascularity that I look at. It's just big noodle veins, in my opinion. That's a natural thing. You either have it or you don't. And furthermore, I think I am leaning towards Levrone. I call him Levrone by mistake sometimes. I'm sorry. It's just a natural way. I apologize. It is Levrone. But anyway, his chest itself is massive, thick, big pad. Look at that, huh? Big arms, too. But aside from that, like I said, aesthetically, he's just too much for Paul. He looks like a statue. So, in my opinion, Kevin Levrone gets another point, which also, I must say, could go either way, as well as the side tricep. And if you're familiar with Paul Dillett and his back development, then you know that the Maryland Muscle Machine is going to be dominant in any back shot. Now, they say Levrone is a little weak in the back, and I say Flex Wheeler's weak in the back, and I get criticized for that. But in retaliation to Kevin Levrone, I can't compare those two. I think Kevin Levrone has a good back. There was a couple of years where his back just wasn't what it was before or after. But I mean, come on. He's always compared with the likes of Dorian Yates and Big Ronnie Coleman. Yeah, buddy. So, I mean, anybody's going to look like they have a weak back compared to those dudes. But take a look, if you will, the 95 Kevin Levrone. What a big boss of a back. Definitely flattening poor Paul Dillett here. And it's actually a little closer here in the rear double by. This photo I found of Paul Dillett, this is an amazing condition for this man, perhaps his best. I can't recall exactly which event this was. It was not a Mr. Olympia. He did win the event. Ooh, a best of Paul Dillett. Anyway, his back, the shape of it matches Kevin Levrone's, although he is much bigger, so it should be much bigger as well. But the softness is there for sure. Kevin Levrone's rear double bicep, not as good as his rear lat spread. Now on reflection, perhaps Flex Wheeler would beat him in this pose, but the lat spread would go to Levrone anyway. This is going to Levrone for sure. The hard, grainy nature. And look at the delts on Paul Dillett. Massive, yes, but soft and tender, like a baby's bare bum. And speaking of bare bum, look at those glutes on Paul Dillett. On the lower body alone, Paul Dillett is fantastic. Like I said, he has a few of those goodies a lot of the big men don't have. But that back is weak of Paul Dillett. The detail is wishy-washy. Kevin Levrone gets a dominant point. This is a dandy little dogfight here in the ab and thigh pose. Now, food for thought. Paul Dillett, 9 times out of 10, was beating Kevin Levrone in this pose. But this is an older version of Levrone, and I believe he was actually quite massive. He leaned down after this and then really ballooned up in size. But he looks fantastic here. The thigh, very big and vascular, and those abs never looked quite so sharp. But then you look at Paul. This is the biggest, best ab and thigh of all time. Look at the thigh, just thick, full, and massive. And those abs, so aesthetic. Like I said, he has those goodies, and one of those goodies is perhaps the best big, giant six-pack of all time. Look at those obliques. Big Paul definitely takes a point here, in my opinion. And this will be the final pose in this just a granular matchup. These two big Clydesdale studs. I must say, the anticipation is sapped from this one a little bit. Levrone has already got his 5 points. He has won this one in my point system, although I will say Dillett could have got a point. I'm sure a lot of people have voted for Paul Dillett in the side tricep and the side chest, so could be all tied up still, or even Paul might even have the edge. So I'm definitely going to be showing this. And honestly, this one could go either way as well. But I mean, the symmetry is just too perfect for Kevin Levrone, and it's not quite there for Paul Dillett. The symmetry, I mean. So, there is this one here. This is a crab. I mean, this is the last pose, so I'll show both. And of course, this does not count for 2 points. In my opinion, also, Levrone is just too crisp in this one. Look at Levrone. Just looks fantastic. Not known for the crab, but actually, I gotta say, this looks fantastic. Look at the outer heads of his tricep. Actually, on both arms, look at the triceps. Creates a frame. Awesome pose. Awesome pose. But I have to say, oh no, we gotta end this. Paul is down. Paul is down. And I'm sure Paul will get the help that he needs backstage. What I was going to say is Paul Dillett gave Kevin Levrone a run for his money, I am here to tell you, and there is still a little controversy. A couple of close poses there, but I believe the right man won. Those dominant back shots, at least that rear lat spread was so dominant that, come on, that's a very dominant pose, perhaps the most dominant in the entire matchup. And honestly, that should be worth a couple of points. I could actually add that in there. The most dominant pose get a couple of points. I don't know. Something for the future, perhaps. Either way, look at these brackets, guys. Kevin Levrone advances to the final matchup. And, of course, we will need an opponent for Levrone for this main event matchup. I think either Dorhe Yates or Nasser El Sunbody will do just fine. What a titanic struggle that's gonna be. I'm gonna lose sleep over that one for sure, but I hope you guys look forward to it. And I hope you enjoyed Kevin Levrone versus Paul Dillett, because I did. Have a good day.